All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to get started in just a second. All right, thank you everyone so much for being here. We are so thrilled and excited that you have joined us today for our rally for the cornerstone of conservation science, the ecosystems mission area of the US Geological Survey. If you wouldn't mind, I know some folks have already started, if you wouldn't mind putting in the chat where you are calling in from. And because a lot of us are appreciators of wildlife and plants, biodiversity, go ahead and throw in the chat some of your favorite species that you're here fighting for. And I have to say, this is one of the largest meetings, virtual programs of any kind that we've ever had. And so I know that chat is going to be moving very quickly, but nonetheless, we thank you all so much for being here and for being engaged and standing up for science. And so today, before we get started, I just want to let you know that as far as accessibility is concerned, you can enable closed captions for this webinar by clicking more at the bottom of your screen, clicking the closed captions button, and then enabling it. And that should enable closed captions for the duration of this program. And as you might imagine, because of the overwhelming support for and interest in this rally, we actually had to shift our platform. We had to shift our organization of this event into a webinar. And so if you are someone who has been to one of our rallies before and you made a sign, a rally sign, standing up for wildlife, featuring some of your favorite wildlife species, you have not done it in vain. And we will be sharing at the end of the webinar an opportunity for you to share your rally sign with us. So I know you won't be able to share it on this rally, and we apologize for that, but you will be able to share it with us in a way that can get shared out with the rest of folks who are standing up for science. So again, thank you all so much for being here. And when it comes to the USGS Ecosystems Mission Area, few people have probably heard of this entity in the federal government, but it touches all of us. And so whether you are a birder or a hunter or a plant fanatic, a scientist, or someone who simply enjoys having functional, healthy ecosystems, you are impacted by the USGS Ecosystems Mission Area. This mission area does so many different things, from studying wildlife and rare plants, and when it comes to rare plants, they can oftentimes go very much underappreciated, to ensuring that our communities and our ecosystems can thrive in a changing climate. The Ecosystems Mission Area is the foundation of conservation science in the United States. And unfortunately, as with all cuts to the capacity to monitor and protect our natural resources, those who are most vulnerable, whether human communities or animal and plant species, they will be the most impacted when this critical work is eliminated from the capacity of our federal government. So today, you are going to be hearing from a diversity of excellent experts, people who will share just how incredibly important and diverse this mission area's work actually is. And so we're here to get educated, and then after we get educated, together we are going to take action. So stay with us for the duration of our rally so we can take action together at the end. And again, thank you all so much for being here with us. And so with that, I would love to introduce to you two incredible leaders here at National Wildlife Federation. Colin O'Mara, who is the president and CEO of National Wildlife Federation, and Dr. Diane Pataki, who is the VP of Science and the chief scientist here at NWF. And so Colin, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you so much. And the incomparable Karina Newsom, obviously fantastic and amazing leader across the country. And just thanks so much for organizing this and getting us all together today. Look, I mean, like the threats to so much that we care about are incredibly just unprecedented right now. And and we're focusing today on USGS, but we could have similar conversations about what's the proposed cuts of the Fish and Wildlife Service, at BLM, the Forest Service, so many at NOAA. I mean, so many parts of the federal government. But today, we're trying to make the case that we have to all lean in for the U.S. Geological Society service, the U.S. Geological Service, because without our voices, these are the kind of proposed cuts that could just slide through the process. And this science is foundational. I mean, the fact that we're at near capacity, almost 2,000 people are taking time out of the middle of the day right now to stand up for science, right? To stand up for and acknowledge that science is foundational to absolutely everything that we do. If you care about wildlife, if you care about conserving wild places and wild spaces, like having that sound science that we have built up over decades, over the past century, and having and that kind of incredible integration of science from academia and from state agencies and from all the federal family coming together to make sure that we can actually do amazing things on the landscape is so vital. And so the idea of zeroing out this capacity, the idea of wiping out, this incredible function that is, as Karina said, so intersectional and kind of interconnected throughout things, it's just not acceptable. And so we'll have some very specific actions you can take to let your members of Congress know this fight. It will not be just decided with the administration. It's going to be a conversation that's going to happen over the next several months with the Congress. But we can absolutely win this fight. And just to give you one little bit of hope, Mike Simpson, who's a good friend of many of ours from the state of Idaho, the other day in a appropriations hearing, basically said that the proposed cuts to USGS were just not acceptable. He said like the research that they do in Idaho specifically that he was talking about is just so foundational that he wasn't willing to consider some of these cuts. And so this isn't a Democratic issue. This isn't a Republican issue. This is about all of the entire country, and making sure we have the important resources we have to continue this foundational science work. And frankly, the resources we have today aren't even nearly enough, right? I mean, we're trying to defend what we have, and we really should be talking about expanding, given the challenges we're seeing in the landscape, the challenges facing species, the shifts that we're seeing related to climate and fragmentation of habitat and different forms of degradation. This is incredibly important. So I thank everybody for joining us today, and really look forward to working with all of you to save all the funding for the USGS, for all the land management agencies, and making sure that science is still the centerpiece of everything that we do. So let's get it done. I'll leave you one last thought. A few days ago, folks were telling us all across the country that there was no way to get the public land sell-off package that was added to the reconciliation bill out of that package. There was no way to get it done. And folks rose up, folks like us rose up all across the country, said we're not going to sell our public lands. And yesterday, with the leadership of Ryan Zinke, that provision came out of the package. So there's a bunch of other stuff that's very concerning in that package. But the proposal to sell 500,000 acres of public lands is not in the package that passed because of people like all of us speaking up and standing up. We can absolutely do the same thing for USGS and for our incredible, important partners in the federal government. So thank you. And with that, I will turn it over to the amazing chief scientist of the National Wildlife Federation, Dr. Diane Pataki.
Thank you so much, Colin. Thanks for that great news. So this is a big win, everyone. This public land sell-off amendment would have been devastating. We would have lost hundreds of thousands of acres of public land. So thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone who called in, and let your members know that we need our public lands public. We need them open for everyone. Now it's time to turn to the USGS. So folks in the chat are asking, how many people are here? How many people are on this Zoom? There are more than 1,900 people on this Zoom right now. Looks like we're going to hit 2,000. This is actually an unprecedented number, and this is an emergency rally. We actually just started putting this together a little over a week ago. Like, we've never done anything like this before because it's so urgent. And it's just unbelievable that you all are here. All of you as individuals and all the organizations who joined us really at the last minute, because we are in danger of losing what is one of the most important pieces of the federal government that supports conservation work. So we want to give you the knowledge that you need to help make a difference, because what's happening right now is so confusing. Science is being undermined at multiple levels. And I know that people are asking us, what is happening? There's executive orders, there's environmental regulations that are being undermined. There have been grant terminations and funding freezes and firings of scientists in the federal government. Scientific advisory boards to the agencies have been dissolved. That's a lot, and it is confusing. And that kind of makes it difficult to respond. So we want to give you the power to be able to make change and defend our conservation science by explaining exactly what's happening. So what we're finding is really effective is to select something that you really care about, that really needs to be defended, because it is crucial for the work that we do in trying to recover wildlife and save rare plants and keep ecosystems healthy for people and for other species. So let's all focus on one cornerstone of conservation science, learn what we can about what it does, and then call our representatives and let them know that these programs are critical, that they need to be defended, and that we need them to stay in the federal government. So we're going to hear from a whole series of speakers who are going to explain exactly what the ecosystems mission area of USGS does, why it's important, how it's been helping us for decades save rare species, save threatened and endangered species. And the best person, I think, to start us off to talk about what is the USGS? Why does the USGS work in conservation? Is someone who has spent a whole career at the USGS. So I want to introduce my amazing colleague, Dr. Jill Barron. She is an ecosystems ecologist, and she retired this past March from nearly 50 years of civil service, most of it at USGS. And she has spent an impactful career documenting the effects of climate change on mountain ecosystems, developing climate adaptation strategies for national parks and public lands. She's testified before Congress on the impacts of climate change and acid rain. She founded and co-directed the USGS John Wesley Powell Center for Earth System Science Analysis, and she is a past president of the Ecological Society of America. Please give a warm welcome to our wonderful colleague, Dr. Jill Barron.
Diane and Karina and everyone, thank you from the bottom of my heart for this day that you've pulled together. I'm very pleased of it. So what do you think of when you hear about the U.S. Geological Survey? Karina's led us down this road already. People think of rocks, they think of earthquakes, they think of maps, but you don't think about ecology. So why is there an ecosystem mission area in the USGS? Let me give you a little history. I'm taking you back to 1993. Bruce Babbitt was Secretary of the Interior, and the nation was embroiled in controversy over the spotted owl and old-growth forest logging. Secretary Babbitt saw, in his words, a train wreck coming if scientists were embedded in the same agencies that set policies and management guidelines. He wanted to prevent either the occurrence or the appearance of bias in Department of Interior scientists who were charged with providing a scientific foundation for conservation. Babbitt pulled all research scientists from the Department of Interior resource management agencies into a brand new organization called the National Biological Survey. Most of these new National Biological Survey scientists came in from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and I'll come back to that in a minute. I was one of the few that came in from the National Park Service. The National Biological Survey was absorbed into the U.S. Geological Survey in 1996, where we became the newest resource division alongside Water Resources Division, Mapping Divisions, Energy and Mineral Division. In 2007, when we reorganized the U.S. Geological Survey to better address grand challenges facing society, and we've heard a bunch of them already this morning, the Biological Resources Division became the Ecosystem Mission Area. Ta-da, that's what we are today. All DOR research capacity since 2007 has been under one organization now, the U.S. Geological Survey. So this history helps explain some of our strongest ecosystem mission area programs today. The Breeding Bird Survey, for instance, migrated, no pun intended, along with the fish and wildlife scientists who joined the National Biological Survey. So the Breeding Bird Survey has been around for about 60 years. It's the primary source of long-term, large-scale population data for more than 500 North America's breeding bird species. Coordinated jointly by the USGS and her partner agencies in Canada and Mexico, Breeding Bird Survey data have been used to map expansion and contraction of bird populations, and in some cases identify change from different causes, like West Nile virus, habitat loss, invasive species, climate change. So the Breeding Bird Survey still relies on field observers, and some of you are probably among them, but modern satellite data have brought us into the 21st century. USGS products from Landsat, such as the National Land Cover Database, are allowing changes in bird life to be directly associated with changes in local habitats. This allows for much greater understanding and fine-grained management solutions. A similar program is the Integrated Monarch Monitoring Program. This collaborative across North America shares science and management strategies to protect wintering, migratory, and breeding habitat for monarch butterflies. A spin-off from that project was a major summary of 554 butterfly species that came out just this year, and you probably saw something in the news. It quantified rapid butterfly decline across the United States. This study painstakingly gathered their data from 35 citizen science programs across the country. And I'm sure, again, some of you listening in today probably helped collect those data. So thank you. Some of our other national and continental monitoring programs, NA-BAT, the North America Bat Monitoring Network. Bats are, of course, incredible pollinators and necessary for agriculture and our wildlife and wildflowers. ARMI, the North American Amphibian Research and Monitoring Program. The Integrated Grizzly Bear Study Team. We map wildlife migration corridors, which are essential for hunters. The National Wildlife Health Center is part of our ecosystem mission area. It's the lead federal agency for early detection and response to wildlife disease, such as chronic wasting disease, avian influenza, and for those of you who are living on coasts and are divers, stony coral tissue loss. We chair the Science and Data Committees of the National Fish Habitat Partnership, which is a group of 20 organizations trying to improve fish habitat nationally. And the National Wildlife Federation has partnered with the Climate Adaptation Science Centers, which are part of the USGS ecosystem mission area. And they've developed identifying climate smart keystone plants. This is a website that you can go to, or other professionals can also go to find out which plants need to be supported for native biodiversity and pollinators. So I've barely touched the surface and completely left out the important landscape and ecosystem ecology work we do all over the country, but you get the point. We are public servants providing vital information for conservation to the United States. And thank you again for being part of this rally. It's so important, and I appreciate it.
Dr. Jill, thank you so much for that incredible overview of the USGS ecosystems mission area. So as you can see, it doesn't even touch the surface. What people understand to be the work of this mission area doesn't even come close to the work they actually do. So thank you for doing your best to paint that picture and so much more that we're going to be hearing about later on from our speakers. I'm thrilled right now to move us to the invertebrates. I know we've got some insect fans in the chat. So I'm thrilled to introduce to you Dr. Jessica Ware, who is the curator and division chair of invertebrate zoology at the American Museum of Natural History, where she studies insect evolution and insect decline. She is a past president of the Entomological Society of America and current president of the Society of Systematic Biologists. Jessica, welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for organizing this. I think this is really an important time for all of us to really speak to the little things like the invertebrates. So as Karina mentioned, I study insect evolution. I'm an insect scientist here at the American Museum of Natural History. And for a big part of my career, I was really just interested in understanding how dragonflies do what they do and understanding their biodiversity. But for any of us that study insects, what we've noticed over the last decade or more is that when we go to our field sites, sometimes the insects we expect are not there. And that is because insects are facing what we call biodiversity loss or insect decline. We think that insects are declining at a rate that is higher than humans have ever recorded in the period of time that we've been recording insect biodiversity, which is scary. And it tells us that we really need to do something and have a conservation plan for insects. But it's also a challenge because, of course, there are more insects than there is anything else on Earth. And that means that insect conservation compared to birds or bats or mammals is really, truly understudied. We know that there have been around 1.5 million species of insects that have been described, but some people think maybe there's 5 million or 10 million insect species out there that have yet to be discovered. So how can you conserve and save something when we haven't even found it yet, when we don't even know that it's there? I think it's safe to say that we truly don't fully understand insect conservation, nor do we fully understand insect biodiversity. And we have such a breadth of taxa that really you need to fully kind of explore all that's happening in this large group of organisms, class Insecta. Really, I think it's not an underestimate to say that life depends on insects. I mean, they're really the bedrock upon which life depends. They're food for animals like birds and mammals and lizards and fish. They're food for microorganisms like bacteria and fungi, and they're even food for some plants. And of course, as members of a community, as members of the ecosystem, they do these really important roles. They're predators, they're pollinators, they're decomposers, and they're really ecosystem engineers. The world that we know it, that humans, as long as there have been humans, there have been insects. The world as we know it has been shaped by insects. And in their absence, it would look very, very different. So it's not an understatement to say that the work that's being done by programs like the ones that we're here to support for the USGS right now, like the work that's being done by the Bee Lab, it is foundational, it is fundamental, it is basic information that we need if we're going to be able to conserve and preserve insects. We have a truly critical need for more investment in, and not the elimination of insect science or entomology. And by supporting insects, by supporting insect science, by supporting entomologists, by supporting the folks that are out there getting this foundational baseline data, we also will incidentally probably save plants. We will save other animals like birds and mammals that people tend to feel a kind of a warm, fuzzy, visceral reaction about. These animals are all so interconnected with insects because insects are a very old group. We think that flying insects have been around for around 400 million years. Life as we know it has evolved in concert with insects kind of shaping it along the way. So I'm really grateful that we're all here. I think we need to speak out for the insects, and thank you to Karina for organizing this.
Jessica, thank you so much. We are all interconnected, and insects and other invertebrates don't get nearly the love that they need, given how much they do for us. So I am forever grateful to folks like Jessica Ware who are shouting from the rooftops, we have to save our insects. We have to study our insects because we are depending on them, whether we're thinking about them or not. So thank you so much for sharing just how important the work is of USGS and making sure that we're studying and conserving this incredible biodiversity when it comes to our invertebrates. So now we are going to move on to the hunters and anglers. How many hunters or anglers do we have here at the rally today? I know we've got a really large constituency of them here at National Wildlife Federation. They are so very important to the work of conservation and to our communities across the United States. And so I'm thrilled to introduce Dr. Anita Lucchesi, who is the program manager for Artemis, which is a National Wildlife Federation program that advances women's leadership in the sporting world. And she herself is, of course, an avid hunter and angler. She holds a PhD in geography with a specialty in research methodologies. And for that reason, she is natural sciences research is very important to her. Anita is also a member of she's a Cheyenne descendant and lives in her tribal community in Montana, where she works to advance tribal research collaborations through the tribe's Historic Preservation Office. Anita, it's so wonderful to have you here. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. What an incredible event. I'm so pleased to see so many people attend and show so much passion. It's been really fun to watch the webinar chat and see so many people chiming in. As was mentioned, my name's Anita. I'm a hunter and angler and also have a background in natural sciences research, and just really excited to join the crew and talking about why this USGS programming is so important. Today I'll share a little bit on the relationship that this programming has to hunting and angling. I think for those of us that do hunt or fish, we know that through our relationship to the land and our harvest and all those things, we are intimately connected to this science and these kinds of programming, and really kind of mutually supportive. So we know that our ability to hunt and to fish relies on these types of programs and healthy ecosystems management. I think a really good example, my favorite thing to do is salmon and steelhead fish in Northern California. And it's been such a beautiful blessing to see the dams come off of the Klamath River system. But that took an incredible amount of science. And still, there's an incredible amount of work to be done around habitat restoration, population management. And I know that my ability to fish those waters is directly related to programs like this. On the flip side of that, we also know that hunters and anglers contribute a lot of information that's critical to wildlife management and things like habitat restoration. Following that same example with salmon fishing, I have my salmon in my steelhead card. At the end of the season, I have to send that in. And that data is used by government agencies to get a sense of where the fish are in the river, at what time of year, and all of that kind of stuff, so that they can continue to make informed decisions for the health of the river and those fish. So that's one example among many, but just to show that, excuse me, as hunters and anglers, we depend on scientific research to maintain our way of life and our relationship to the environment. But also we are critically feeding into it and in partnership with these programs in really meaningful ways. And for that reason, we need to step up to protect them. And I know I have just a short window to share today, so I want to uplift in closing. Artemis has a podcast that's free to listen. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on our website. And we just released a special episode all about this issue. It's with one of our ambassador alumnas, Dr. Dana Green. She is a bat biologist and she's also a falconer. I've seen some folks express interest in falcons and raptors in the chat. She hunts with falcons and is like just so cool in that way. But the episode is all about why cuts to conservation science are so important, why we as hunters and anglers should be invested in them, and what we can do about it, and how to support scientists in protecting that really critical work. So please do check it out. And thanks again for inviting me to share today.
Anita, thank you. That was such a clear way of demonstrating how integral hunting and fishing in whatever ways folks do it is to conservation. There is such an important feedback loop. We rely on hunters and anglers rely on scientists. And so it's very important that we maintain the structures that allow folks to hunt and to fish, whether it's part of kind of like a sport fishing, sport hunting, or if it's integral to one's culture or both. So thank you so much for drawing those connections together for us today. All right, now we are going to move on to our birders. How many birders do we have here at the rally? I'm excited to say that I am in that number, and it is my absolute honor to welcome Dr. Kenn Kaufman, who is an ornithologist, a writer, and a prolific author, someone whose writings have personally connected me to birds in ways I never imagined. The ways that he thinks about the world, the ways that he interprets the world, helps me see the world more clearly and more beautifully. As you all may know, Kenn Kaufman is a lifelong naturalist with a special focus on birds, and he's written 14 books and hundreds of magazine articles on birds and nature. And his work, as I mentioned, has inspired countless people of all ages around the country and around the world, and I am in that number. So Kenn, thank you so much for being here, and we're excited to hear from you.
Yeah, well, thank you, Karina. A simple metal band stamped with a unique number and placed on a bird's leg can be a powerful tool for research and for conservation. For more than a century, the bird banding program has been unlocking the secrets of wild birds and providing guidance for wildlife management all over the continent. Now, handling wild birds requires a lot of skill and special federal permits, and all such activities in the U.S. are managed by the Bird Banding Lab under Ecosystems Mission Area of the USGS. The small staff at the Bird Banding Lab is responsible for issuing permits, providing bands, archiving data, and analyzing results. When the program was established back in 1920, one of the first projects focused on wild ducks and geese. They could be captured and banded in large numbers, and when hunters sent in their bands later, it allowed scientists to figure out where those waterfowl had migrated. And in fact, that project led to the discovery of the migratory flyways that we still recognize today. But soon, of course, other kinds of birds, we were learning about the migratory routes of so many other groups of birds, and as well as how long individual birds live in the wild, which of course is vital for understanding their population dynamics and managing their conservation. And it's not just knowledge gained when a bird is recaptured at a distance or much later. Each bird provides information, even if it's captured only once. Where I live in Northwest Ohio, the Black Swamp Bird Observatory has been banding migratory songbirds every day in spring and fall for more than 30 years. And they use they capture thousands of warblers, thrushes, other migratory songbirds using these sophisticated mist nets. And each bird they catch is weighed, measured, checked for its condition, including its amount of body fat, which is the fuel that it uses to continue its migration. And it's a standardized effort with the nets always in the same places, so it allows comparisons over time to see if birds are migrating early or later, or if populations are shifting. And if this project ended or even suffered an interruption, it would be a serious loss for this vital long-term monitoring. Now, also critical for monitoring is the Breeding Bird Survey, the BBS, which Dr. Jill Barron mentioned earlier. If you're not familiar with it, the Breeding Bird Survey consists of over 4,800 roadside survey routes, each with 50 count locations along a 25-mile route. These point counts are only 3 minutes each, but there are tens of thousands of them. So they provide a mind-boggling amount of data points for analysis. And for many species, this is the only source we have for tracking populations. When you read that scarlet tanager numbers are declining, for example, or the red-eyed vireos are increasing, that's based on the breeding bird survey. Without that, and without the backup of data from some long-term banding projects, we literally would have no idea what's happening with population trends of these birds. And that's important because we can take action to protect those birds when they start to decline before they go too far. And it's much easier and much cheaper than waiting until they approach endangered status. And finally, I should emphasize that the breeding bird survey and the bird banding program rely on volunteers. Some banders are employed by state agencies or by independent bird observatories, but they're not on the federal payroll. So the US government and all of us get the benefit of vast amounts of data about these birds for the very low cost of paying a few coordinators. These are really among the most efficient and most cost-effective programs of the entire federal government. And I believe it's essential that they must continue. Thank you.
Ken, thank you so very much. That was such a clear, again, demonstration of how much we do with so little already. And we rely so much on the passionate, engaged lovers of birds who are volunteering to collect that data, whether it's through the breeding bird survey or as master banders, for example. And so it is critical that we maintain the infrastructure that allows passionate people to volunteer their time and ensure that we are able to conserve birds as best we can in the context of a changing world. Ken, as always, thank you so very much for being with us today. And so many rounds of applause as well. Next, I am thrilled for us to think about the conservation work that happens in the USGS Ecosystems Mission Area that advances and supports the work of tribal nations. And so next, I am thrilled to introduce you all to Garrett Vogesser, who is the Senior Director of Tribal Partnerships and Policy right here at National Wildlife Federation. And he has been in this work for a long time. Garrett has been partnering with tribes on conservation since 1998 and offers such a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of work to the efforts to ensure that conservation is equitable in the work that we are doing. And this mission area in USGS is so important for upholding that work. So Garrett, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Corinna. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Tribes get substantial financial and technical support through USGS programs for conservation work on tribal lands. The Climate Adaptation Science Centers are an integral part of climate adaptation planning and implementation for tribes. The inclusion and leadership of tribes in USGS programs is not new, but relationships that have been built over time, particularly over the last 15 years, as tribes have also formed stronger relationships on climate and wildlife science with other federal agencies like the Fish and Wildlife Service and Bureau of Indian Affairs. The Climate Adaptation Science Center Network has supported over 150 research projects with tribes and tribal organizations to assess information needs, build capacity, identify climate change effects on tribal resources, and very importantly, incorporate traditional knowledge and indigenous science into adaptation planning. Many tribes would not be as advanced in climate adaptation without the climate science centers. Additional areas of support provided by USGS programs are in biological data collection, native seeds technology, bird banding initiatives like we just heard about, and fish monitoring. The same technical services and funding provided to states are also extremely valuable resources to tribes. Losing these services and funding would be extremely detrimental to tribal conservation programs. While the threat to resources is paramount, another major threat exists to the relationships and partnerships that have been built between tribes and the USGS, which has been a deep and valuable process that has influenced how sovereigns partner and support each other. These partnerships are a model for co-stewardship. Co-stewardship is inclusive of partnerships between federal, tribal, and state sovereigns, as well as collaboration with NGOs and other science experts. This is the essential foundation upon which we must work together to protect wildlife and natural resources, and tribal, ecological, and cultural resource protection priorities. Investing in, not eliminating capacity for USGS technical collaborations with tribes is one way the federal government must meet the federal trust responsibility to tribes. Tribes are already challenged enough by historic inequity in federal conservation funding, and adding the loss of USGS funding, services, and collaboration would be yet another calamity for tribes. Thank you.
Garrett, thank you so very much. It cannot be overemphasized that the technical support and collaboration opportunities that USGS provides is critical, just as Garrett mentioned, and is the bare minimum. We have so much further to go when it comes to ensuring that tribal nations have the resources and the sovereignty to manage the resources that are in their purview in a changing climate, in a changing world. And so, Garrett, thank you for being here and emphasizing that reality, because oftentimes that is left out of the conversation when it comes to these losses that might be happening at the federal government. So thank you. And all right, moving on now, we are going to hear from a leader in the world of the professional societies. We've got Dr. Ed Arnett. Thank you so much for being here. Dr. Ed Arnett has served as the CEO of the Wildlife Society since November in 2021 and has been a member of the society since 1984. He's a Wildlife Society fellow and certified wildlife biologist as well. He's also an adjunct faculty member in the Department of Fish, Wildlife, and Conservation Biology at Colorado State. Ed, thank you so much for being here and for emphasizing the importance of programs like this one in supporting our professional societies.
Thanks very much, Karina. I really appreciate the opportunity. And given the multiple time zones we're all in, a very good day to everyone joining us. It's critical that you're here and very much appreciate your participation today. My role is to share some thoughts on the importance of the U.S. Geological Survey Ecosystem Missions Area Science Centers and co-op units to our professional societies specifically. But let me start off by just noting that professional societies are essentially the trade association for our natural resource professionals. We're all membership based. We publish journals. We hold conferences, workshops, webinars, and other training sessions for all career stages of our students and professionals across multiple disciplines. And we communicate that science to the public, as well as many of other societies engage in the policy space as well. So, of course, there's the fact that these folks that work in EMA, they're the employees and the students they supervise, they're valuable members for our professional organizations, of course, but more importantly is the services that they provide for our members, to our various professions, and to society more broadly across a wide range of disciplines and taxonomic focus. This is really a key. They provide that scientific capacity across multiple disciplines and multiple taxa, many of which we've heard already. And the delivery of that science informs so many of the decisions that are made in the conservation space, management, policy decisions, and providing the underpinnings of public education and outreach that the National Wildlife Federation and so many other organizations are so well known for. All of our professional society publish the work of these scientists and their students and collaborators, and most, if not all, use that science to tell stories to our members, to politicians, to the public, and we use that science in developing policy briefs and other advocacy efforts that are critically important in that policy arena. But perhaps something that most people don't really think about is just how important these professionals are in the ecosystem missions area as teachers, mentors, collaborators, and such for the next generation of natural resource professionals. And of course, many of these programs and the professionals are integrated into our academic system already. Think cooperative research units. But there are other integrations, of course, with the academic system. They play a vital role at our conferences as well. They present their science, they share their information, they go to networking events, they share their expertise, they share that mentoring framework with students and early in career, mid-career professionals. They provide workshops and they contribute to our workshops, webinars, and other professional development platforms that are so important across all of the stages of career development. And these functions all help all of our professional societies deliver benefits to our broader membership and to the future of conservation. The concern, of course, that we have, and all of us have, I believe, is that loss of capacity to deliver science the recommendations, the stories, the mentoring, and all aspects of our system of conservation here in America, and more broadly, globally as well. And the big question mark, of course, is how or even if this science capacity and the other functions that these folks bring to the table, if it's lost, how could it be replaced? And what would the trickle-down effects be and the unintended consequences for conservation in the future? So on behalf of the Wildlife Society and all professional societies that have engaged in this event, we're proud to be part of this conversation, and we're working to maintain our federal system of science and the workforce to deliver for all of us. I really appreciate the opportunity, and thanks, Karina.
Ed, thank you so very much. And I was getting emotional as you were talking when you were talking about the mentorship and the research capacity that are provided by professors that are in the co-op, what's called the co-op unit, that is housed within the ecosystems mission area of USGS. And my own professor, Dr. Elizabeth Hunter, for my graduate degree, has been an incredible mentor. I don't want to get emotional about this, but thank you so much for making that point, because they're investing in students across the country for generations before us and after us. All right. Finally, when it comes to our special guests, I am thrilled and so honored to bring to you all, to introduce to you Dr. J. Drew Lanham. You may have heard, I'm sure you have heard of Dr. J. Drew Lanham's incredible poetry, his incredible research. Dr. Lanham is a distinguished professor and a researcher in the realm of ornithology, and he has recently been awarded a MacArthur Fellowship for his work in integrating ecological science with cultural and historical perspectives to broaden environmental awareness. His work, his artistic contributions to the world of conservation have changed me as a person. They've changed me as a biologist, and they've made me understand how important it is that we bring our whole selves to this conservation work. Even if we're scientists, even if we're artists, whatever we have to bring, it matters and it makes it better. So Dr. Lanham, thank you so much for being here, and I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you so much, Karina. And thanks to the National Wildlife Federation, to the conservation advocates and partners who've spoken so passionately on behalf of wild things and wild places, on behalf of conservation science and the USGS ecosystems mission area focus. I'd like to take a little bit of a different slant here, and as lovers of wildness and wild things, and hopefully of one another, there is now more than ever in our sizzling third rock from the sun in this globe warming predicament, a necessary convergence to make good on our barter for life with other living beings. All the green things with which we exchange breath, and the smallest insects to the largest mammals. This time that we share on Earth demands we come together in new ways that are actually old ways. This is going to demand urgency as the news cycle changes. It will demand purpose as policies come and go. It will demand persistence. And yes, it's going to demand love of us all. Now, seldom mentioned in peer review, but essential in our peer relationships to our fellow human beings and our non-human being wild kin, is empathy. Empathy is that thing among us that brings us closer together. I do not believe that us saving ourselves or living in harmony with any other living being occurs without empathy. Conservation is, after all, a touchy-feely thing. We start by pausing at puddles to notice little black commas that we come to learn are tadpoles. Perhaps we hear a new bird song in a park, and a scarlet tanager brings Amazonia to our main street. This is how our hearts get touched, and no matter how many degrees we have after our names now, this is how most of us got started. The science that comes from counting those tadpoles or understanding the importance of mature forest cover for the tanager hopefully bring our brains closer to knowledge that helps us do better by birds, by frogs, and so much more. And so, given the current state of conservation affairs, the challenges to policies, I think that our faith needs a church. Yes, our faith in nature's nurture is being tested. With hellish fires burning the world up from down under, a global flood drowning polar bears, and brimstone falling in the form of policies torn apart, it seems time to regather the congregation of wildlings for some sort of meditative dawn chorus song singing. There must be some coming together in concerted worship of all of us concerned with wildness. No, I'm not speaking of any high steeple, stained glass, temple walled place to worship some deity we can neither see nor feel, but rather some unified knowing that what we have to communion over, the work that we do, and then celebrate the like-minded gathering to then imbue some hope that what we enact to save will make tomorrow better than today. I would contend that there is no need for bricks or mortar, no trusses or beams, no steeples. Instead, we have to spark one another in kinship to an action that we as conservation professionals have often shied away from. Now, my friends, is the time to come together. I'm going to call our scripture the science, rigorous investigation and data objectively gathered chapter and verse. USGS Ecosystems Mission Area is at the root of the issues, work, and wonder we all love. Saving it and the science we depend on demands action. So let's work together, hunters, birders, anglers, butterfly lovers, boulder scramblers, photographers, and all those in love with wild nature, and understand that our fates are inextricably linked. After all, we share same air, same water, same soil, same earth, and yes, same fate. Thing is that watching birds alone will not be enough. Hunting deer will not be enough. Going fishing will not be enough. Taking the close-up photo of the hooded warbler's rictal bristles will not be enough. Instead, now is the time for everyone who calls themselves a conservationist or loves wildness to step forward, to advocate beyond personal stake, and speak up for what we all claim to love. I'd like to thank the National Wildlife Federation again for the space for giving us this time, and thanks to all for being here. And let's get to work. Thank you.
Drew, incredible. Goosebumps as always. When you said bring Amazonia to our main street, that's what birds do. And imagine all the other forms of life do for us. Thank you for painting that picture for us so beautifully every time, every time. Well, just as Drew said, it is time for us to take action. And there are going to be many ways to take action over the coming weeks, months, and years. But right now, for this rally, what we're going to do is take action to reach out and talk to our legislators that represent us, who represent our concerns. And so right now, what you are going to see, enter our resources area here on the Zoom, is a link to a click to call. We're going to call our members of Congress right now on this rally. And so the link will appear. You're going to go ahead and click that link, and it's going to connect you to the platform through which you will call your member of Congress. We've all got 3, right? So for the sake of this rally, just call your member in the House of Representatives. And then after the rally ends, we're going to ask that you call your senators. Keep that link open and call your senators. So when you click that link, you're going to fill out your information. It will prompt you through the process. And then once you've filled out your information, a script will appear to help guide you in your messaging if you would like to use it when you speak with your member of Congress. And if you are unable to call right now, though, there is a second option for you. You can write to your member of Congress. If you're unable to call right now, you can write to your member of Congress through an action alert that was provided by the NWF Action Fund. So you can use that alert to send a message in writing to your member of Congress. But we are going to take 5 minutes to do this action right now. So right here in the rally, go ahead. We're going to take a pause for 5 minutes for you to go ahead and call your member of Congress. Just as a note, when you call your member of Congress, you will be getting a phone call on your phone after you send your information, and that's how you'll be connected to their office. So be on the lookout for a phone call to the phone number you put into the form. And if you would like to write to your member of Congress, again, there is a link in the resources to email your member of Congress. Thank you, everyone. A few more minutes for this. All right, so I know that because a lot of folks are logging into the call, click to call, way more people are here than we anticipated. It might be going quite slow. So what we are going to do, we're going to email you after this program. You can also save the link that you have, keep it in your browser, but we will also be following up with an email that includes these links to call your members of Congress as well as write to your members of Congress, depending on which ones you would like to do. So be on the lookout for that. And I do appreciate everyone trying, though. It turns out that having this many people try to call at once on our platform may be making it a little bit slow. But thank you so much for your patience. Before we go, I'm going to now turn it back over to our chief scientist, Dr. Diane Pataki, to share some parting words and to thank you all for joining us. And she's going to share some follow-up information about what to expect next. And I just want to, before I pass it over, thank you all so very much for being here. I have to thank the incredible panelists who in quick order came to support this rally and to share so much incredible information and knowledge that will be helpful for all of us to be able to take action and stand up for science. So Diane, if you are there, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you so much, Karina. Thank you so much, everyone. I agree with all the folks in the chat saying Karina was the perfect person to put together and moderate this event. Thanks so much to Karina and all the staff behind the scenes. This is just the beginning. We're not done. We are giving you just the beginnings of taking action to get this done, to save the ecosystems mission area and all the amazing work that it does. So I do want to emphasize the folks that are co-sponsoring this event with us. We have lots of organizations that partnered with us today. So what's next? We've got 3 follow-ups, and then I have one final request at the very end. So what is next? Finish calling your members of Congress using these links. You are going to get a follow-up email with all of the information. Make sure they all get a call, they all get the emails. This really does make a difference. I know folks are frustrated. You're calling, things are happening. We are winning on some of these fronts. And now that we see all this amazing enthusiasm online, we know we can win. I've been a scientist for 25 years. I've seen lots of the programs I helped to build crumble, and it's been demoralizing at times. But this energy here today, this is just revitalizing us. Right after this call, all of us at the National Wildlife Federation, we're going to get right to work on more action, and you can definitely help. So after this call, after this Zoom, you're going to get a follow-up email, and in addition to links for action, it's going to have a survey that we want you to fill out. And the survey is going to ask you, where are you from? What's your background? What's your interests? How can we best channel your energy and your interest in supporting conservation? So please fill out that follow-up survey. And then finally, the rally signs. We actually wanted to make this a big Zoom meeting where everybody could hold up their signs on camera, but we have way too many people registering. So please send your rally sign to the email address. You are going to directly email Karina when you send that sign. So please email newsomc@nwf.org, and we're going to feature your rally signs in our follow-up communications. So finally, I just want to thank our partner organizations. The final thing you can do is join. Join this coalition. The bigger our coalition, the faster we're going to get this done. We have scientific societies who all sponsored this event. Big shout out to the American Fisheries Society, the American Ornithological Society, the Ecological Society of America, the Entomological Society of America, the Society for Conservation Biology North America, and the Wildlife Society. Please join one or more of those societies. I actually joined 4 scientific societies myself. We have nonprofit conservation groups and coalitions co-sponsoring us. Thank you, and please join the American Bird Conservancy, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, the Center for Plant Conservation, the Southeast Plant Conservation Alliance, the America the Beautiful for All Coalition, and the Xerces Society for Invertebrate Conservation. And finally, conservation research organizations who joined us. The Atlanta Botanical Garden. Your botanical gardens do a huge amount of conservation research on the ground. And of course, NatureServe, who provides data and tools for all of us to use. And finally, please join us, the National Wildlife Federation. We are the largest and oldest grassroots organization for conservation in the United States. 7 million members and counting. We need more. This fight is huge. So please, please join us. Thank you for spending your time with us today.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.